Well, when I was in college, I was the only kid who had a Roger Corman button. Everybody else had a Jean-Luc Godard button. So I was a fan, and I had grown up watching Roger's pictures all through high school and college. I was convinced that he was a great filmmaker. I got a chance to work for Roger doing trailers, and Alan Arkush and I were offered a chance to direct a picture that John Davison was going to produce if it was the cheapest movie that Roger had made up to that point. It was $60,000 in 10 days. Because we were actually shooting the movie in the daytime and then going back to the editing room and doing trailers at night, because it was the only way we could do both, because he said you can direct it, but you gotta still do your other job. And so we made this sort of cheesy little comedy.
Cut.
To everybody's surprise, it turned out, and it was like on film and had sprocket holes and stuff, and played in theaters. Not many, God knows, but some. And that eventually led to other things, and I got a chance to do this picture called Piranha.
Piranha, the deadliest man-eaters of all.
And made this sort of spoofy Jaws imitation. It wasn't spoofy because we thought ill of it. It was spoofy because we knew we couldn't afford to make the kind of movie that was going to really compete with a movie like Jaws. And so we kind of made a parody of 50s science fiction movies with piranhas in it.
They were unleashed into America's waterways to churn quiet streams into rivers of living death.
And that picture was pretty successful. So based on that, I got a lot of offers for giant turtle movies and Orca the Killer Whale and some other stuff, which I didn't do. Well, the casting director for this picture was Susan Arnold, who was the son of Jack Arnold, who had directed The Incredible Shrinking Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon. She brought in a lot of really, really interesting people. And Dee Wallace, of course, who I had seen in 10 and was the first real, quote, actress that I had ever worked with, because she was very, very serious and very fragile.
I don't remember.
And I think I was hired for the part because I am so vulnerable, and most of the stuff is like that far underneath the surface, you know.
Bill, wake up, there's something out there. Outside, something was howling.
I really hadn't figured out quite yet how to be the character and then not be the character when they said cut. And so I sort of kind of was her for 6 weeks.
She lived as if this thing was really happening to her.
What's that gun?
God!
In the emotional scenes, and the scenes where she had to be frightened or emotional in any way, she really got into it.
I can't see him. I can't see him.
She had a particular aversion to violence, and I think that all of that added to her wonderful risibility in the role. She would get very genuinely upset and overwrought, and it was all very organic.
Dee really doesn't differentiate between a rubber appliance that's frightening and a real werewolf that might be in the room with her.
I felt like I really needed to believe what was happening. You have to screw around with your mind a lot, you know? You have to, and energy. It takes a huge amount of energy, at least the way I work, to cross that line where you're going, this is what I think I ought to do in this scene, and this is how I'm going to act it out. And go, okay, I'm just going to be there. This guy's really going to turn into a werewolf. And I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to live in the moment. And that's really going to happen. I know it sounds all dorky and weird and actory and dramatic and all that, but that's how I work.
It would take a lot of time to bring her down from some of the emotional peaks that she would reach in the scenes, and I had never obviously encountered that kind of thing before. It was great for me. There was no difficulty to directing her because she did take direction. The only difficulty for me was that once she would get to a place, sometimes it would be hard for her to get away from that place. Once she had reached that emotional peak, it wasn't like, okay, now we're going to do a comedy scene. She would really still be there.
Acting's personal in it. If we didn't want to open our hearts and show them to people, then we shouldn't be in this business.